look at him, the only thing I can think of is she's got legs.
I want my groupies.
So sounds like you're all well. That makes me happy.
We are. We all getting our
Yes.
vitamin D and staying clear of COVID and staying well.
Yeah, they say you got to have your vitamins A to E.
A to E.
A to E.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so is that you, Vic? Yes, that's you. And who's?
Yeah.
What happened to Roy?
Let me see.
Maybe he couldn't connect the audio or something.
Yeah, he went away.
Well, that's a shame. He was waiting the longest. We should just bounce Vic. Get rid of Vic, and Roy's got room to come in.
How many people can connect?
Over up to 100 at the current,
wow. Yeah.
but I think you can get up to 500.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm
I
sharing on
think we have,
Facebook too, so anyone who's having issues they won't be able to talk, but they can watch.
This is where we would have said back in the day, what the devil meant for bad, the Lord has turned into good.
Hallelujah.
Well, don't forget he's supposed to be the prince of the power of the airwaves, isn't he?
There's somebody. Who's that? Is that James?
Yep.
Hey, James.
Hey
Hey,
there.
Bill.
Looks like they're still
James
finalizing
and
their
Gail.
connection.
Hi, guys. Oh, they're still connecting.
There we go.
James.
What?
Tell
Mike.
Gail we saw her.
What?
There she is. Hey, Gail.
In all my glory.
What are you there?
Oh. Who else was
How's Saskatchewan doing, James?
lovely?
Yeah.
Man, this
We were
is
supposed to,
close to the conference here.
pardon?
This is getting close to having a conference here, isn't it?
I know.
This is lovely. We'll, goodness, we'll have to do this more often. And I was just thinking how wonderful this is. And gosh, we could do something like this, like once a month or something, just an evening, and
I
everybody
hear
together on Zoom. I think it's
Yes.
That would be great.
yeah.
Now, well, there's Jeannie. Now, how do we get so that we can see everybody?
In the top right corner, you might see something that says view, and look for something that says gallery.
Mm,
Top
Top right-hand corner.
you.
Oh, James just turned off his microphone. Oh, he's back.
More participants? Could it be participants? No.
It might be different. I'm looking on my computer, so if you're on a phone or tablet, it might look a little different.
My tablet, it said I can't even hold it.
Oh, switch to gallery view.
Yeah, there you go.
Are we
How do I-
recording this, Daniel?
I will once we get.
Oh, I got everybody.
I don't have.
Switch to
Jeannie, tell them how
gallery
you
view,
did that because you're probably on a tablet.
On the left side of the thing, it had a little circle with a bunch of squares, and it said switch to gallery view.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you got it, Vic. Good.
Yeah, I just got the gallery thing going. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
really-
Good.
Shed some light on the situation.
Very good.
I don't know where
We
gallery
can
is.
wait around for a few more minutes just to see.
When I touch the screen, there's a row on the top, but there's also 2 or 3 things on the left.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Speaker view. Oh, yeah, okay, speaker view. Gallery view.
Maybe you've got your tablet standing up right. It might work better.
I don't have a tablet. My tablet's so old. This is my cell phone.
Oh, no, that doesn't work. anyways.
I bet you won't be able to view it on your cell phone as far as the gallery.
It says participants and we see who's all on by name, but it doesn't show pictures.
It's not going to show you the pictures because it is a cell phone.
Yeah, the screen's probably too small.
Do our individual pics come up when we talk, James?
Yes. They do.
Good.
Very good.
If you could look out the window, you'd see it'd be snowing out there, Mike, right now.
Oh my gosh. No, I see bright and that's it.
Yeah, that's too bad. It's snowing.
Oh, wow.
Look at my sleeves. Today I went down the park and I sat out in the sun for 30, 40 minutes. It was a lot of fun.
Now we know the real reason why the conference has been virtual this year.
Hey, you guys are just being mean.
I don't get no respect. No
So
respect.
is it snowing down in Calgary also?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's snowing.
Oh, wow. See, I would be there in the snow. The Lord
Inch and a half of snow.
delivered me.
Hey, Vic, did I notice that you live on McLeod Trail?
That's my office is there.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I see Bob.
Who did you?
Bob,
May.
I forgot. Yeah, Bob May.
I don't see.
Hey, yeah.
It's connecting to audio.
It's connecting. Okay.
Hello, Robert.
It's just downright fun. guys.
Oh, how you doing?
There he
Hey,
is.
Robert.
Good to see
Hey,
you.
Robert.
Took me a while.
That's all right. We're
It's
patient.
Bob.
I see
Oh, you
a
Bob.
square also that says John's phone.
I guess
Okay.
John's coming to join us. Hey, Bob, can you hear me?
He
Yeah,
just walked
I'm here.
away. Oh, there he is.
Bob, guys, I don't know if you've ever gone to Reverb Nation, REVERB Nation, reverbnation.com, and listened to Robert May's songs. The lyrics are bloody fantastic. He does it all himself, and I was wanting at one stage to put some backing to some of his stuff, but my eyes got too bad. But Robert, don't ever quit writing music, will you, mate?
No, I do it on and off, but yeah, if you go to SoundCloud, Robert May 14, I've got about 40 songs up there now,
Oh, wow.
but they range from back in the 70s, mid 70s till now. So
I went in there and raped your songs one day, and I pulled out a bunch and I just stuck them on my Spotify. I just you've got songs which are spiritual and ones which are not, and they're
Yep.
they're all interesting, really interesting.
yeah, I guess I'm kind of an introvert, so a lot of my stuff is kind of internal. Thoughts go through my head, and you know, I just did the thing on allegory, and that shows up in the music too, in the songs. You asked me about that one other time, Don, and I started going to a church in 1977, and that's the first time I read the Bible, and we were taught that it was allegory. The Old Testament was allegory, so
Yeah.
that's the way I approach it. Have approached it from the beginning, and for me, it was always the reason I got into just spiritual things, Bible and stuff, was as a kid, I just wanted to know what was going on. What's going on here? You know, nothing made sense to me. And allegory is kind of that approach. It's like, this means something. This means something. I'm not seeing what this means. And it's amazing that I was talking about the Joseph and Jacob story. Even when you get a revelation or something opens up to you, don't put it away, because it's not done. I don't, you get revelations on the same thing. I'll talk to my wife and I'll say, wow, I just got this. And she'll say, you've been saying that for years. It's like, no, this is different. This is different. So yeah, it just works that way, you know?
Yeah, it is a wonderful thing. I think most everybody in the gospel revolution have because of the nature of the gospel, has that stay tuned next week thing going on, because you don't know and I'll get excited about something and want to do a teaching on it. And I've heard people say, well, you've taught on that before. And it's like, no, I haven't. You
Yeah,
didn't hear the extra little nuance that I learned here.
right. Every
There's
little
an
detail.
Adrian is trying to get on as well. There.
Who is Adrian?
Oh,
I see.
Adrian.
I don't know.
Hello, Adrian.
Let me ask her to.
You,
Adrian is in
I'm
Calgary.
muted. I'm
There she
muted.
is.
I know.
Oh, it's Adrian
hi.
Billings.
Yes.
Oh, dang.
Without the S.
Billings. Billings.
Billings.
Hello.
Hello, Adrienne. How are you?
I am excellent.
Adrian,
Wow,
I
what an
always see your
amazing-
name on.
Awesome.
I always see your name on in your posts, and I've always wondered what an Adrienne looked like, and now I know.
Oh, I've met you guys a few times. I haven't aged at all.
So good to see you, Adrienne.
It's good to see you guys again.
Well, like
Yes.
we can understand that. You're only
Adrian,
human.
Adrian, where do you live?
What's that?
Where do you live?
Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
oh, you're
No
my
snow.
Oh,
neighbor.
that's right. That's the reason that you look familiar. Great.
And Bob, where do you live?
Marseilles, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
An Illinois boy.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Started out in Chicago, and now I'm in the River Valley, kind of.
My wife lived in Downers Grove.
Yeah, that wasn't too far from where I grew up.
That's
Oh.
not too far from Alney either.
Well, yeah, Alney's pretty far south. I've met some people from Alney. I work at a National Guard site, so I see people from all over Illinois come through there, soldiers, and yeah, I run into them from Alney too.
I remember meeting someone from Downers Grove, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Hey, well,
That's
InterVarsity
tragic.
Press has an office there. John, where are you from, sir?
Who?
John, I think that's John, with the young man there.
I don't see
Yeah,
any.
your audio. You got to turn your audio button on, man.
My phone just said that John left.
No, I see John. I just
Yeah.
can't hear John.
He's
Okay.
there.
Can't hear him.
I think you had your earphones in. Maybe they're still connected.
We
And
see the
can't
lips
hear you.
moving, but don't hear anything.
I see you, but I don't hear you.
Oh, John's gone.
Well, dang.
Well, he's still there. It's still listed iPhone, but he needs to push some kind of button. Adrian, whereabouts in Edmonton are you?
No, I'm on the south side.
Oh, good. We're real neighbors. I'm in Beaumont.
Oh, not far.
Wow.
Yeah, we might be able to connect at some time if it
Hop,
works.
skip, and a
for us.
jump.
That would be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you both would enjoy that, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Oh, we got
Uh,
for
Daniel,
here.
Daniel, I take exception to the fact that you keep talking about the frozen tundra, that's where you're from. I thought the Canadians had that honor about the frozen tundra, but we'll let it go.
You know, they call that a cultural appropriation, Daniel, and
Yeah.
you should do something about it.
Right.
That's
well,
like Mike. That's like Mike telling us he's 70. You got to deserve 70. You can't
Man.
just take it.
Yeah, you know why he does that, Jeannie? He does that so he doesn't have to respect his elders. Me.
And me.
I was telling the guys in the gym the other day, I don't know what the subject went to. I said, this is so disappointing. I said, here I am almost 70. I said, I'm even too old to die tragically now. I mean, I told him, I said, if you wake up one day and you get a message, Michael's dead, you guys say, oh, that's bad. That'll be all it is. And
You're never going to be a pretty young corpse, Michael.
I will not be. I can't join Janice and Person and all of those guys. So, but yeah, just too old to die tragically anymore. So
That's funny.
all you can do is die. Well,
Hello.
you all for being here so much. This is really fun. I think this could turn into something.
Did you get your thing, your audio working, John?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There
Yes.
you go.
There you are. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Don. Where are you
Yeah,
from, John?
I'm in Claremore, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Claremore, Oklahoma. If I would have listened just a little bit longer, I could have told you where you were from.
Yeah.
It's those three syllables in the first syllable that tell you it's a giveaway.
John, thanks for coming in tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember when you used to come to Tulsa.
Goodness gracious.
Oh wow!
Were you there when I had the big idea to go to Tulsa and teach that the New Testament was not scripture at the Marriott?
It was
I
John.
remember you used to meet out there at the Econo Lodge meetings.
Oh, those. Okay. Yeah, that was after I got maybe that is before, because I can't imagine anybody inviting me after I in Tulsa after I did that meeting at the Marriott.
Hello, Jackie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That elusive catfish fishing Jackie. Where is he?
Is
I hope
that,
you can hear us, Jackie. We see you.
Is that Beetle?
Beetle.
Yes. We can hear them faintly.
Turn up your volume, maybe?
What's that say with the sheep? Does that say Sodom or what?
Soon.
Soon. Soon sheep. Okay.
Yeah.
Got me.
Soon. It's letting you know soon that the sheep are waiting to get in.
That's Adrian's, I don't know, she must have gone for a break or something.
Wow. We overloaded her this soon. Wow, how about that?
There was 2 wolves in there.
Okay.
Oh, you can put pics up on this. I like that.
Aw.
Oh
Uh-oh.
yeah, when you step away instead of just going black.
There's Jackie.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Now
I
we
can hear you now.
That beautiful Manchester
All right.
accent, Jackie. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Awesome.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, it is indeed. Well, guys, let's get started. And what we want to do is to, I want to say a few words and then have Don and Daniel to also. And then we want to just open it up. As in the conferences, I really want to hear from you guys what you heard that was informative, what you heard that might be new, or what you heard that was clearer than it has been before. And so this, for me, has been very informative. I've wanted to do the story from beginning to end, and I think we did capture it as far as the 30,000 foot view, if you will. I think that we've got a lot to learn, but I think that we captured this thing with the help of all the guys and the things that we captured this thing and help of all the guys. For me,
I'm going to mute Jackie. Jackie, if you want to say anything, just raise your hand. I'll let you in again.
Okay, I was getting really bad feedback there. So, but anyway, we've done like the 30,000 foot view. That's what I think we've done this weekend as far as looking at the gospel. And for Bob with his teaching, Don, my goodness, that comparison of Paul's teaching to James's teaching and Paul's teaching to Revelation was absolutely stupendous. We are going to get that in a book form. I have to be honest with you and tell you that I've not had the opportunity to listen to Daniel's or Bob's either one, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've been with my sister all day today and just taking care of her, so I have to grab the moments when I can. So this would have been when I was going to be listening to it, but instead we're on here, which I'm very glad about that. So, like I say, for me, this incredible understanding of the word cosmos, goodness gracious, this only lit up in me. Don can tell you, this only lit up in me within the last week. I've been waking up in the morning for several days before the conference, and waking up at either 3 or 4 or 7 o'clock in the morning,
and you've been waking me up at the same time. Don't
yeah,
you?
I've been calling Don too, because I know he possibly can be awake. And a lot of times he gets himself awake and calls me. Lit up, and a lot of times he gets himself awake and calls. And so but I've been waking up with these wonderful insights. You know, they've been and one of the mornings it was on this word cosmos, and I finally understood that a cosmos is applicable to the context that it is in. So that's been a real biggie for me. And Don, what was for you? What was in this in your teaching and what you were hearing also?
When I was a kid, we used to get Scottish and Irish preachers in, and they would use alliteration to make their points, and it was like, who could alliterate better than the last preacher? So I'm going to use that kind of alliteration. Let me see. Starting from the top, you talked about the culmination of an orderly arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
How that creation didn't end in Eden, but it ended at the cross. Nardos came on and he talked about consequences of one-sided atonement.
Oh, yes, I did hear his too.
That was excellent. He's a real bullet point teacher, isn't he? I mean,
Yeah.
it's bum, 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 and it's and then we had myself and I spoke about the context of an oracular apocalypse. I love what Kate Benham sang. Somebody apocalypsed me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I love that. But it was a one-sided apocalypse. It was an oracular apocalypse. It was picture people, which Robert, you're something else, mate. I want to tell you, you took me back 50 years when I listened to you this afternoon. So we had the culmination of an orderly arrangement, the consequences of a one-sided atonement, the context of an oracular apocalypse. And Daniel, you talked about the completion of an onerous agenda, the concept that sin is now no longer there. Holy dooly. You know, I don't have to worry if he's happy with me. I know he's happy with me. I know he looks out of my eyes in the morning and says, hello. God looks like that strange little Aussie dude. He just looks like, he looks like me. And then Robert this afternoon talked about the correlation of obscure allegories, which was just, mate, you took me back 50 years, Robert. I loved what you said. I loved those esoteric, almost secret things. Jesus said, I talk in parables not to share the truth. I'm talking in parables to hide the truth. But to you, I'm going to give it. I'm going to tell you what it is. Well, today you gave it to us, Robert. You told us what it is. And that's pretty much that's what I got. Mate, this might be the most exciting conference, Michael, that I can recall. And I don't think it's just because it's fresh in my memory.
Awesome. Daniel, what about you, my friend?
I tell you, the point that really hit home to me was this cosmos, this idea of that. And I just heard it all weekend long, the cosmos about reordering that, that really hit home at me. And then when Don talked about the scriptures, and just again, looking at that, you see Peter, James, and John, they were talking from a different world. They were talking from a different cosmos. And Paul was talking from the finished cosmos. And just to see that contrast between, in the New Testament, these writers, and also to show the validity of the scriptures, the law, the Psalms, and the prophets. Again, just with that word cosmos just ringing in my heart this weekend, I was just seeing it everywhere. And even when I was sharing about sin, my eyes were open and it was just coming alive to me, even as I was talking about it, that, sin does not belong in our cosmos anymore, because when Jesus came in and he rearranged things, he totally purged that out and took it out. It's a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. It's just absolutely wonderful in so many different ways. And with Nardos talking about the effects of the gospel on our soul, and Robert talking about, this allegory of the transformation of the soul, about how our understanding of how this new orderly arrangement comes to play, it just reorders everything in my heart, in my soul, and it just brings a lot of clarity. And as we have talked over the years, and Michael, have you shared over the years about how the fractal nature of the gospel, this is just another powerful fractal that just really has brought a lot of clarity. And I'm grateful for that and looking forward to the more of the golden nuggets coming out of that.
Oh, there's Brad Crooks. I haven't seen you in decades, dude.
I'm not seeing all the pictures here, but howdy, Brad. How you doing?
There is a little arrow on either side of that. You can shift them over.
Maybe not on a tablet.
Jeannie, how did you do the thing on the tablet?
Well, it was on the left side when I touched the screen. There came a circle, and it. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 9, and I don't see that command there anymore.
I've got 9 too. So I think that's filled up.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how to do it. I don't
Up
see.
in the top corner, you have a view, and it's speaker view or gallery view or full screen. I've got 11.
I've got 11 too.
Yeah, I think those of us with computers can get more than a tablet, which can get more than a phone, I suspect.
Yeah, I see more options up here. So what we're doing also is learning how to do this, guys. So
yeah.
Appreciate your patience in all of this. All right. So yes, Brad, can you hear us?
You can't hear me though, right?
No, we can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, you can? I thought my mic was off. My dogs are making too much noise today, so. But good to see you, Mike. Bob, you too.
Yeah.
Thank
Brad
you.
and I came from the same background. So.
Oh, really?
You want to talk about allegory, Brad? In fact, Brad and I talked about the parallels between Benjamin and Paul way back in the 70s.
Wow. Oh, he's the
That's
guy
right.
you talked about.
Brad was from Illinois.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. That's awesome. Now, Brad, you, of course, moved out to Colorado.
Right.
Do you remember those different churches that I spoke at in Colorado? I know you and your...
Oh, sure do. Dave Duell's church.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that one altogether.
I think River of Life, that's Pat Mahoney's church.
Did you say Dave Duell?
Yeah.
Right. Dave was
Man,
a good friend of mine.
I fell down for him on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. I thought, what the heck? I'm just going to fall down anyway. I want this over and done right now. Oh boy.
Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems that I remember hearing about that.
Hey, there's Brad.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah, there's a lot of gospel revolution history and mixed up in those names. And gosh, so many years ago, Dave Duell, oh my. Yeah, Dave DeWell, of course, would have tracked us right in with Andrew Womack.
Right.
And the meetings that we had at Andrew Womack's church and also Dave DeWell's, and those packed out meetings. Now you can tell them that I really did used to have packed out meetings. Of course, Jeannie and some of them came to those in Calgary, Vic. I'm not saying something that I really did used to be popular.
I think you still are.
There was a time where the meeting was this size and then it had to go to a bigger room, and a bigger room I remember in Edmonton. It was amazing.
And we reversed the process.
Yeah, what the heck?
Well, the first meeting that I ever went to, we had well 200 people or more, you know, at that center there here in Calgary.
Oh, the Hungarian
the Hungarian Center,
Cultural Center, yeah.
Hungarian Cultural Center.
Yeah, it was full. I remember that. That's where I met Bernice or Ramsden Wood.
Yeah.
And she came up to talk to me after I dismissed the service. And of course, she and her husband love it when I tell the story. But of course, she was extremely Christian, and he was like, "Get me away from this stuff" type thing, you know. And so she came up in to talk to me, and I was standing there. So she was telling me just how bad Al was, you know. She didn't have anything good to say about him at that time. And so when she finished talking, she said, "So what do you think? What expected me to pray with her or rebuke the devil or something, you know?" And I said, "Well, divorce him." And she almost fell on the floor for no reason. I said, "Well, just divorce him. If he's that bad, why would you stay with him?" And from there, they went through a complete renaissance of their marriage, and Al came in understanding the gospel, and they're still together now after 26 years, I guess.
Yeah.
6 years, because we hadn't started Grace conferences then, and they're still together. So, but yeah, gosh, you guys are bringing back a lot of memories for me. Oh my gosh, this is what a flood of memories. Jeez.
So, is it out of order to ask if anyone has any questions?
It's perfect order.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
We can.
Questions or comments, anything you want.
I was really impressed with Daniel's preaching today.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say, Daniel, you did a great job. And
Yes.
the topic that you talked about, you know, the verb and the noun of sin, you expanded on that really well. I just want to congratulate you on that. Just a fantastic teaching on Romans chapters 5 and 6. Yeah, excellent. Really enjoyed it.
I felt like I was back in my Pentecostal days because I was listening to a Pentecostal pastor, and he had verve and he had excitement. I'll say this about you, Daniel. You kept me engaged all the way through from A to Z. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. That definitely, that topic was, I remember actually I preached a version of that sermon when I was still pastoring. And of course I held back on a lot of comments just because of the position I was in, and wasn't coming out openly about the reconciliation of the world, the redemption of the world. And I remember that understanding and that message was definitely revolutionary to me. And it came out of a series that Mike and Don did that was just powerful. And that was the 7 pillars of wisdom. And one of those pillars was sin. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Don refers to that often, of that series. And of course, I'm being my typical self. I don't remember what we said at all. I just don't remember. So yeah, anybody else? You got any comments or questions? Anything you'd like to say about the conference or just whatever?
Hello, Mike. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, this is Rich and Polly Blackstock from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
I remember you. Yes.
Broken Arrow. Isn't Broken Arrow the home? Michael Bond told us about Broken Arrow.
Where Raina is.
Yes. Yes.
And we went to the Econo Lodge meeting along with many others.
Oh, wow.
What was that gal's name in Kawita?
Oh, I forgot her name.
This one gal in Kawita, and we had meetings at her house.
Wow. I
No, you don't
almost remember. Was it like a really big home?
Yeah, fairly big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like big, huge ceilings and very, very nice home.
Yeah.
That was Pat Hutchins.
Yeah.
Pat Hutchins.
That's
Yes,
it.
that's
Pat
it.
Hutchins. That's right.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, Pat Hutchins.
Yeah.
So just kind of curious, Mike, what happened to Wade Brewer? Is he still with you, or is he in communication?
Yes, Wade Brewer speaks occasionally at our conferences, and he's as brilliant as he ever was. And I think he spoke at our last conference. If it wasn't that one, it was one before. Sometimes he's not in town, and we don't have the privilege of having him in. But yeah, he's still doing his. He can paint a picture of the gospel. I teach chapter and verse, and he teaches picture in picture. So,
Mike, we have a confession to make, and that is we got sidetracked on Francois Dutoit's Mirror Bible.
oh, tell us about that.
Well, we like a lot of the things he says in terms of his translation or whatever you want to call it.
Me too.
Because it makes clear some of the more obscure passages, at least we didn't understand. So we really, especially 1 Corinthians 13.
It's very descriptive.
Yeah, we like the descriptions he uses.
But it was an eye-opener, though, when we heard you the other day. And in this conference, I realized that we dropped the story. We had the story before.
Wow.
But like I say, we didn't know the difference between what it was, before God rested. He said everything was very good.
Oh, wow.
We were born corruptible. And now, because I started to think, well, what was the point of the cross? Now I realize after this conference, now we're incorruptible. We're one. We understood the finished work. We did understand that. But there's a difference between, now we understand what the work of the cross really was about.
Thank you.
The clarity came this weekend.
Oh my gosh, guys.
Go together.
No clue what you're doing for my heart and Don's and Daniel's. This has been such a concern for me once we all began to see it. Because, Francois came, he and his wife came to visit me at my home in Houston. And, but there was never a mention of the things that are actually in his understanding at all. And he had just read my book. And so he understood where I was coming from, but he never brought the subject up at all about, that the cross was a revelation only. And it was just revealed what was always there. So you guys have no clue by telling me what you have just now, because my heart, I do not want to see a generation pulled away from the scriptures and the validity of the scriptures, this generation or another to come. I just think it's so vitally important. And I tell you, I would have done this whole conference just for you guys. I so appreciate you so much.
Well, for the last 2 years, I've really been just questioning what is the cross all about. And you just really connected the dots and brought us back to where we were before.
When Francois gets it right, Francois gets it really right. But we have to remember that there has not been a translation and paraphrases or translations. It's the same thing. It's all down to interpretation. And we have to remember that when you have a certain lens through which to see, then you know, it's like that old saying, when all you've got's a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And it's very understandable. And it would be quite wrong of anyone to say, well, he's all wrong or they're all right. But when he gets it right, he gets it really right, as you pointed out in 1 Corinthians 13. But of course, that lens that I think Daniel Rouse found for us in one of our podcasts is right there in the foreword of that paraphrase.
Sure.
Yeah, what was that, Daniel? I don't know, Rick, if you guys heard this, but this might be a really good point, Daniel, for you to point out to us again. You have your Mirror Bible there, and we actually.
I can get it.
Yeah, we got it the other room.
You want me to get it?
Is that the one where we were talking about the different? I think it was all of the recommendations for the Bible, and it was from these teachers,
yes,
that use it, and they were talking about a lens, and
Yes.
a lot of them said, this is a lens you have to look through in order to see this. Look through the lens of love, look through the lens of Christ and the words of Jesus. But in doing so, as we've been really highlighting, is we missed the story. And I was with you guys too, because I really loved the Mirror Bible, and actually it was a real helpful in me in my transition out of Christianity. And but I got to that point where I was all like, well, what's the value of the cross? And that the question that kept coming up to me is, what was the point of the cross? If it was always true, then why all of this work of Jesus? And yeah, I'm with you. But I think that's the point that Don was bringing out, is there's this forced perspective. You have to see through the lens. You have to see this way. You have to look this way. And all of them that admonish the Mirror Bible, those are the comments that they were making.
Yeah.
And we have a saying that you can't see your filters. You can only see through your filters, generally speaking.
And another thing that struck me as I began to see the difference between the Mirror Bible and what you were saying is the fact that the Mirror Bible concentrates, it has you take your eyes off Jesus and put it on yourself, because it's a mirror Bible.
Wow.
You mirror back to yourself, not to Jesus, but to you.
Interesting.
And the Grace Seminary down in whatever it's called down in Houston, we were following some of those teachers too. And so it kind of drew us away from our foundation.
Which is very easy.
It is. You're right, Don. Don, one of the things I wanted to really appreciate about what you said was that the New Testament was commentary. I've never heard that. That was brand new for me.
Well, I stole it, brother. I stole it off Mike Williams.
I don't care who you stole it from. The fact remains that I never had a clear understanding of the external and internal ways of validating truth and the scriptures. So I so appreciate what you told us, because it made sense.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we were telling earlier, Rick, we're going to publish that. We're going to have it transcribed and published, because that is a work for the ages. What Don did on here. And I tell you what, he did it through fighting blindness and still recovering from his very difficult situation that he had several months back. And
mate, it's not all bad. I met a really nice girl today. Yeah, I got my stick and I'm feeling my way around the path, and there's a lump there. I can see shadows, and so I see a lump, and I looked like it wasn't a human, and I gave it a little poke, not much, with my stick, and I said, is that a dog? And this girl said, yes. So I engaged, that pickup line about, oh, what's your dog's name and all of that. So, mate, I did it today. I got away with it.
The first time in your life.
Bring it on.
Yeah. You didn't know you needed a cane and dark glasses to pull it off, though.
Right? I'd have done this years ago if I'd have known.
I just want to make a comment, because there are about 10 people that are watching on Facebook that did not make it to Zoom. And I know you cannot participate in the conversation, but if you have questions, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll be sure to
absolutely.
share it here for anybody who wants to. Thanks for joining. If you want to, you can click that link and join us here in Zoom and participate in the conversation. But thanks for joining us on Facebook anyways.
Yes, please. You know, one of the things that that became so clear to me through, and I've been really pleased to be pressed against the wall by this doctrine, which we call mysticism. We call it the mystic view. I've really appreciated, I have learned so much being pressed to study it. First off, I had to look and see what they're actually saying and see if I was wrong. You know, if you don't approach something with the possibility of being wrong, all you're going to be doing is do confirmation bias and find the things that agree with you. But we really do. I think most of you guys know that we really, when we research more to find out if we're wrong rather than to find out if somebody else is wrong. And many times we find out we're wrong and we just tell you, you know, it's gosh, if you're looking for somebody who's been right for the last 50 years, like Brother Hagin was and never changed his message, then you'll have to look someplace else. But, you know, even if you take the term from the foundation of the world, that should start in you a picture of a building, right? It's the foundation of the world. From there, it's then, you know, when a builder is building a home, once he gets the foundation poured, maybe wait until he gets the framework up and stuff, he'll stand back and say, wow, it's good. This is good. And but you know, there's a point that he wants to come to where he can stand back and look at the home he's building and say, no, that's perfect. And that's the whole thing. I cannot tell you, I feel that in every fiber of my being in talking about that. Just mentioning this picture from the foundation. A true foundation is about as far back as you can get to find a beginning, right? And then to realize that there was almost like a maintenance structure that was put up until the real structure was put up. And we have all those types and shadows in the temple. The temple was, it started out as a tent, it's temporary. And then they went to the big temple, and then it went to the temple, which was Christ. So this progression is there in everything in the scriptures, leads us through this progression that reveals to us Christ. And, I've shared that when we got an answer back, when we had asked, about God being angry, and we're not out to, I don't need to prove that God was angry. The issue is that the scriptures say that. It's not whether I need God to be angry. It's the fact that the scriptures say that. And the fact that you have to undermine the scriptures if you say that that is not true. I may not understand God being angry. I may never fully understand that, but I'm not going to change the story and then lose the ability to trust the scripture to where that we can continue to learn. Who knows? Maybe somewhere down the road, we'll learn something that says something in a way we've never seen it, and suddenly we'll see, wow, God was never angry. But you know where we'll find it? We'll find it in the scriptures.
I thought the progression on the weekend was really good, Mike. You started off teaching on Friday about about Christ saying it is finished, and just bringing to light the verses in John that reference his work, and then Daniel's talk on Romans 4:5. To me, there's a whole bunch of pieces put together this weekend that of this mosaic of this wonderful story. It just blew my mind how well this thing fit together. And Don, your talk about scripture and the New Testament and all of that information Wonderful stuff, and just flowed together really well. I just got so much. There's so much meat on the bone, as they say.
Vic, it's when you say about a mosaic, it reminds me of what Robert May said today, that it's like a tapestry. You pull one thread out here and there's another thread way over there. It's glorious. The way that this has been put together, I mean, it just boggles the human brain, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Anybody?
I found it was quite an interesting.
Oh, there's Neil.
Hello, Neil. Have
Hello.
you got that blush of new marriage still upon you? I can see that, mate. Bit of a glint in your eye, my friend.
A little bit. It's still fun.
There you go. There you go.
I do have a question, by the way. My question is it's on forgiveness. But my question is, do we have to forgive? And if so, why or why not? I mean, what is forgiveness now? We've been forgiven from God, yeah, for our sins, but if somebody wrongs us, are we supposed to? What is forgiveness between man and man?
Well, it depends, Neil, all upon whether or not they insulted your mama.
Touche. No, they didn't go that far.
I think the first thing that we remove from the equation is sin. That whatever it is that you are reconciling is sin. That's very important that we know that sin on any level has been done away with. There's crime, there's offenses, but I think it's vitally important for the sake of the continuation of the understanding of the work of the cross that we just eliminate the term sin out of how we're trying to describe anything of an offense. I remember the very first time I stood up and I was trying to, it may have been in Calgary, I don't know. And the very first time that I stood up and told everybody, I said, I don't have to forgive anybody. And it's been enough years ago to where that I got some, it was like nervous laughter or something. Like, they weren't really sure I was serious.
So, Mike, when Jesus said, if you don't forgive other people, well, you won't be forgiven. What was that about?
Yeah, well, that was before the cross. And that's, and the powerful thing about it is that after the cross, we find Paul saying that you and I should forgive one another, even as. So this gets to the heart of Neil's question. You and I should forgive one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven us. So while we can, and the amazing thing is, it's so easy. Now, I'm saying this from myself. I remember being much more petty than I am now. I remember being much more offendable than I am now. I would like to say that I am without offense. I'd like to say that I'm not petty at all. But I can tell you I'm not nearly as bad off as I used to be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even needing to forgive somebody, it's like, unless you really feel the offense, I don't know that there's anything to forgive. But if you do, it would only be a process, to free yourself or to free the person. They may need to feel that you have forgiven them. So what do you guys think about it, the rest of you?
It seems to me, Mike, that in order to forgive, there has to be a law.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that there was a law that was broken. That's why you're forgiving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say that we have rules of relationships, and it would probably be a good place for us to learn a little bit more about false expectations. I think we are going to have expectations of each other, but I see a difference between reasonable expectations and false expectations. So if we, and in between, from relationship to relationship, you'll have to define what that is, that the order of your relationship is and what the commitment of your relationship is, whether it's with a friend or anybody else, right down to the small thing of just being on time. I happen to bring that up because I am petty about being on time.
Oh, get out of here, mate. Every Sunday morning when we record the podcast, guess who's last? Oh,
Well, I didn't say I was petty about me.
your pants are smoking, buddy.
I'm petty about you being on time.
So when you guys do the podcast, do you guys use Zoom or something?
We can see each other. It's not on Zoom,
Oh,
but we may be switching to that. I don't know. This is working so well. I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but
It is, yeah.
yeah, this is working so well.
Can I remark on that last question, mate, about you said about false expectations? I used to ask people when I was getting to a place where I was starting to understand some of these dots and how to join them. I'd ask a room full of people, who here thinks that you can disappoint God? Who thinks that God is disappointed or can be disappointed in you? Hands would go up all around the room. And then I'd say, have you ever been disappointed in anyone? Yes, yeah. What was the cause of those disappointments? Every single time the answer would come down to false expectations.
Yeah, that's right.
Every single, and then I'd simply ask, do you think God's got any false expectations about you? And that was it. Extraordinary. And I don't, I don't know where I got that from, but it just seemed logical to me.
Yeah.
If only equals can love, it seems to me like when someone says to you, "Oh, I forgive you," they're almost coming from a higher place to a lower place.
Well, that really is true.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
Well, for the forgiveness for myself, when I realized, just listening to Mike and Dawn and listening to them, when I found out that Christ did not die and to forgive me and did not die for my sins, and yet I'm holding other people accountable.
Oh, wow.
For things. None of us, Christ never died for none of our sins. How could he when you were born righteous? You were born sinless. You're born perfect and holy. Now he died for the sins, and if you look at Hebrews, I think Apollos says it in Hebrews, that he died for those, redeemed those that were under the law and forgave them their trespasses. Not us, because we were never under the law. So
that's true.
When it came to someone who, let's say, offended me, it was neither here nor there, because I didn't have to forgive them because they didn't do anything. They're perfect, they're holy, they're righteous. And then you tell them that it's within themselves. Basically, they have to understand that they didn't do anything to even ask for forgiveness. And you watch people when they just plead to be forgiven, when all you need to know is that they're righteous.
You have to be offended to need forgiveness. So if you go around without offense and somebody says, well, will you forgive me? It's like you can truly say there's no.
Yeah. For what?
Forgiveness is not necessary. It's beautiful, Adrian. That's one thing I love about you, girl. You always come in with the bottom line of the gospel. You cut to the chase. We can all talk for hours, and then Adriana comes in with a one-liner. It's like,
kaboom.
Like, what the hell we've been talking for anyway?
It changes your whole relationship with people.
It does.
Because
that
now
word offended.
There's nothing to be offended for just because they don't understand the gospel. That's the only thing that usually someone would offend you, or you would offend someone. It's just something you do not understand in the gospel. You don't remember, oh yeah, I'm righteous.
Okay, so now I've got to ask Neil, what did you do to your wife need her to
Yeah. Yeah. Come
Wasn't
on,
me.
Neil, fess up, boy.
You sound like a man who's in desperate trouble here, and you need to pay.
That word offended.
Halo here.
Halo here.
Halo and goodbye, I'd say, if you're not careful, Neil. That word offended in the Greek is scandalon or scandale. And a scandalon is from which we get the word scandal. Scandalon is a fascinating word. You know, when you set the mouse trap and you put a bit of bacon on that little trigger part of the, once the mouse touches that, he's as good as dead, that trigger.
Mhm.
That's a scandalon. That is, it is not just a trap, but it's a trigger part of the trap. And I fall for that damn trap every time. I tell you, you can offend me really easy because I don't know why I'm so vain or sensitive or whatever you want to call it.
Thin-skinned.
Hey, listen,
So thin-skinned.
I'm Australian, mate. Hey.
So is the scandal on the bacon or the trigger? That's what I'm trying to figure out here.
Well, it's all very allegorical, you see.
Well, let's not scandalize.
I got it now.
Bacon can't be the scandal, so we can eliminate that one immediately.
One thing, cats don't go to heaven, dogs do, but certainly bacon does as well.
I'm offended.
Who's a vegetarian? Who is she?
No, cats are going to be in heaven.
Now, Don told me that I could.
Oh dear.
Don told me I could share this. And I would not have if he had not given me permission. I think this environment's a good place. Don is not kidding you about his ability to be offended. He had a short trigger. I'm telling you, you could trip his trigger in a second and boom. I mean, it's just like the explosion would go off, and how many times that happened. And it's not that I don't have one, but it's like, okay, I've got somebody here with a shorter fuse than me, so I need to keep my cool here. But what I've watched over this 6 years, I guess, or more, that Don and I have been involved in the gospel, I have watched a transformation. He would have already been pissed off at somebody on here, I can tell you. But he has transformed into a very much more gentle.
Perfect. I'm perfect.
And perfect young man. Oh my gosh. So it's been I tell you what, if anybody doubts the power of the gospel to transform, I can tell you for myself, I've been through this. I can't even believe the changes that have taken place in me with no effort. I didn't even know I needed it, That's the beautiful thing about the gospel. But I've got to be an observer where Don is concerned. And goodness, it's been beautiful.
I'd tell the story if you want to, Mike. It's okay by me.
I thought I just did.
Well,
what part of the story didn't I tell?
I rang up Mike one day and I said, I'm so pissed off with my wife.
Oh, yes.
You can finish it.
Yeah. If I'm telling the right story, and it's where you had responded to her and was very sharp with her. Yes. And so yeah, Don called me and he said, Michael, I've messed up really bad. Now, Don didn't realize that he was telling me something wonderful, because progress is not measured by not doing what you should not do. It first comes by recognizing it and be able to identify, rather than somebody telling you you're a jerk, you tell yourself, boy, I've been a real jerk. And that was, and I told Don on that phone call how proud I was of him, and he couldn't figure it out. He said, I've just told you I said a horrible thing to my wife. And he said, I told him, I said, Don, I'm very proud of you. And he wanted an explanation. And I said, do you realize that there'd be any time before this 3 years ago, you would never have even considered the fact that you were acting in a way that might have hurt somebody. You'd have just justified it. And so I think that kind of took him aback because, it wasn't a, wow, you did wrong and wow, now you got to do right. Instead, it was an affirmation. Boy, you've made progress. This is really quite amazing.
And that's, you've heard probably, if you listen to the podcast, you've heard Mike and I say, there is a peace that we have gotten through the gospel, which passes understanding. And I am not kidding. I don't understand it. It's just peace. That's all I know.
Yeah.
What I find has happened for me, the realization, I feel I don't have to forgive anyone. That was Christ's job, and he did it well. And but I think that the one thing that Christ God would love for us to know and recognize was identifying everyone. Like, I can look at everyone, and even when I'm a little upset with them, I can know that they're right and they're holy and they're perfect, and that Christ and God live in them, and Christ and God in that person is one, and they're one with me. And by the time I go through all that recognition, forgiveness isn't really an issue. It's more understanding that there are people that have problems in their lives who've been scarred and cut and beat up by life itself and everything else that's in it. And it's not necessarily something that I have to take. If someone offends me, by the time I try to go through that understanding of people, I'm not hurting. I haven't taken ownership of the fact that somebody doesn't love me. Someone, like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Don't know why. It's not. But I do understand I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. They're a part of me. And that's what helps me. It's not a matter of understanding or getting forgiven. It's a matter of understanding who people are and who I am.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, I had a question.
See you later,
for you.
John.
Bob, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How much time do you spend in the Old Testament reading the Old Testament? I've just started in the last 2 or 3 months reading through the Old Testament.
Not much. Not much. You know what?
Not much.
Not much time. I read mostly the New Testament, the story of Jacob and Joseph for my own reasons. Just I just glommed onto that, and I've just looked at that for many years, and
Okay.
it just keeps opening itself up. Now I do read the Old Testament, but it's when something comes up that I want to know about. I mean, I've got my phone here and it's got a concordance. I can find it right away, but it's usually a key word or a key phrase, and that'll lighten up some other phrase. And I want to find it. I want to find out what that specific thing is about. And I'm not as studious as Mike or Don or Daniel. They know the Bible backwards and forwards. I just look at it differently. That's what I would say. I don't spend a lot of time with it, but it's like everything else in my life, music, woodworking. I'll get hooked on it for a while and I get into it a lot. And then it's like, okay, I'm off on this thing. And, but I hit it hard when I hit it, and then I let it go, because a lot of times whether it's music or woodworking or problem solving. That's what I was kind of talking about, Benjamin. The blessing on Benjamin. He's a ravening wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and in the night he will divide the spoils. It's the conscious and the subconscious mind. It's like we learn everything we can about a subject and we let it go, and that's when we get the answer.
That is the best example I have ever seen of synergy. You join the dots far differently than Mike does, or Vic does, or anybody else on this page does. You join the dots in the way that God in you joins the dots. And the synergy of us all being together here and listening to this, it's, to me, it's beyond price.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think allegory is beyond price, because you're constantly looking at something and saying, I don't see what this means. And you can put a skin on a story, and then you could put a different skin on a story. There was recently a movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I don't know if you remember the movie. Okay, that was...
I've been absolved of my sins.
Yeah, but that is...
Wiggly wiggly.
That's the story of the Odyssey with a different skin on it. I don't know if you know that. It was based on the Odyssey, on Homer's Odyssey. Okay, so if you take the skin off and you take this skin off, what do you have? You have the story with no skin. That's the pattern. That's what allegory leads you to. The pattern behind the skin. And that's why Joseph said, make sure you bring my bones out of Egypt. That's a pattern. The tabernacle. Make sure you build it after the pattern showed me on the mount. Okay, the tabernacle is just a skin. Well, wait a minute. Later on is Solomon's temple. That's another skin on the same story. So allegory leads you to that, looking past the skin and looking at the pattern. That's what I can see. Yeah, I was looking at one today. The story of Christ revealing himself, which I believe is the Jacob story. But that's revealing himself in us. It was the first story in the Bible about it. And then Christ put a real skin on it. And in the physical world, the story of Luke and the story in John and the story of the guys on the road to Emmaus, there's certain elements there. There's, I wrote them down because I was trying to, okay, they meet Jesus, they go over the scriptures, they eat, and then he reveals himself. They didn't know who he was. They told him the story was going on, and he listens to him. He pretends like he's somebody else, and then he says, "Oh, you fools! Didn't you know it was supposed to be? It was supposed to be like this from the beginning." Joseph does the same thing in his story, because when he meets the brothers and finally reveals himself, he says, "You didn't put me down in Egypt. You meant it for evil. God meant it for good. But God put me down here to save the world." So it's the same in the story. There's two stories in Luke, because the guys go to the road to Emmaus and all that happens. Then they come back and tell the other guys, the 11 and some other apostles or disciples that were there. It goes through the same thing again. Their eyes aren't open until he eats with them. But before that, he's told them about the scriptures. It had to be this way. You didn't do this. This is how it had to happen. So but it's an interesting thing, because Barris talked about the different gospels, and when Jesus is revealing himself, John's gospel, he breathes on him. He says, "Receive the Holy Ghost." The same story. Now, this is the same night. he says, whosoever sins you remit, they are remitted. Whoever sins you retain, they are retained. But in Luke, the same thing is that repentance and remission of sins should be preached among all nations. That's the gospel. What John was teaching was not. How did John get that out of it? That we have the power to remit or retain sins. That's not what Luke said. So you see the two different viewpoints come out of the same exact night. But it's the pattern. You take the skin off and look for the pattern. It's algebra. It just amazes me. You know?
Music.
What's that?
It's music.
No, I didn't say it was music. I said it amazes me.
It's still music, mate.
Yeah, it's music. I guess you could say that. Yeah.
It's music to our ears, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it's patterns. You start looking for the patterns. It's kind of like algebra, you know, or new math, whatever. A plus B equals Z. It's like when they did that to me in 7th grade, I rebelled. It's like I'm done studying math because you can't do math with letters.
Yep. Boy, can I relate to you?
Yeah.
I have another comment that came in here on Facebook. This is from Paul and Linda Hamilton in British Columbia. They're joining us on Facebook, and they said that
British Columbia is not the real world.
Well, you better wait, Don, because this is a nice comment for you. So don't mess it up, Don.
Oh, it's the center of the world.
Astounded by Don's insight into the meaning of the names of Adam and the descendants. No wonder Job knew that his Redeemer lives. Paul and Linda.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Isn't
Thanks
that
for joining us,
amazing?
Paul and Linda.
Yes. Paul and Linda, that is the amazing thing about Job. He didn't even know there was a devil. You go all the way through Job, no mention of a Satan, nothing. Now, the writer of Job knew there was a Satan because he says that Satan went into the presence of God and said, let's have fun with this boy. And God gives him permission. But when you listen to what his friends said and what he said, even if he slays me, still I will trust him. And his friend said, look, his wife said, curse God and die. Didn't say curse Satan. And his friends were all about, well, you must have offended God. Oh, dear, you poor boy. But they had no idea about Satan. Job was all he had to deal with, and it's probably the oldest book in the Bible, was what he had been told by Adam, Methuselah, Noah, others. We don't know when he was alive, but he probably, very possibly, knew all of those people. And he knew the story that was told through the names of those people from Adam through Noah. Thank you, Paul and Linda. British Columbia is king.
I wanted to say, Daniel, that I really appreciated your message, your study, so clear. And yeah, I was getting just as excited as you were, you know. It was great, but so clear, so appreciated. It just, all of the sludge just fell off, you know, and like someone had mentioned, gold nuggets and whatnot. It was truly a joy to listen to, and to gain that well, I guess I call it, you know, I'm cemented in the gospel, but it's nice to see it hardened so I can't step out.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a real joy. I appreciated your message, and as you know, with every single one seemed to be, from Nardos to Beresford, to Don, Mike, Bob. What a wonderful group of clarifying messages that that takes all the threads, like you talk about a tapestry. When you weave through that, you complete the picture. When you weave another thing through it, it makes the picture clearer. And pretty soon all the colors are there, and you can see clearly the true gospel, the truth that we are redeemed. And the joy of knowing it, and the freedom of knowing it. And what a beautiful conference this has been. It's, for me, it was just really, really wonderful. Thank you.
Jeannie, I think that's what you described, something that helped me describe what I felt as I got deeper and deeper into the Mirror Bible concept, and the Bible school teachers from the Grace International, or whatever the name of the school is there somewhere in Texas. But it's like they've taken this beautiful tapestry and they've pulled out every thread that has color to it. And I've described it. I've tried so hard to just put myself in their shoes and see through their eyes, through their lens, through anything that would have persuaded them to go this way. And I've told people it's like watching wallpaper paste dry to me. I mean, you know, it's just, I don't get the when you understand the story and somebody tries to take the story away from you, there's a loss there. It's just like Rick, you guys were talking about there in Broken Arrow. I mean, you begin to wonder, what did Christ even do? You know, it's like the color, while there's wonderful translations, paraphrases of the actual verses in the Mirror Bible, there's additions to the paraphrase, which are the thoughts of Francois about this subject, about that the law was not given by God, it was given by Moses, and therefore flawed. And then therefore everybody had a flawed view of God, and that's what actually sin was, that it was a flawed view of God. And so, and like I was sharing the other day, that if sin is a flawed view of God, then Jesus died to remove sin. He was an unmitigated failure at but Jesus died to take away sin. The sin of unbelief is what we understand that to be from Adam. And even Jesus said, you know, as he was talking, then they asked him, you know, what must we do to do the work of God? And he said, believe on him. And then said, you know, it is finished. I've come to do the work of God, which was believe. And the power of that story, the color comes alive, and you see this original creation, if you will. You see the bones coming together, you know, and now I'm thinking of that, you know, somebody's bones, you know, and they spoke the word and the bones began to come back together. And I think that's what you guys had happened to you, Rick, and that you started seeing the bones come back together, and you started seeing the sinew and the skin come back on the story. And but otherwise, it is true that the story has been stripped of its glory. And as I stated, boy, if you lose the story, you're going to lose the glory of the work of the cross. And so that whole picture for all of us is vitally important. And I think that that's what all of you guys did. Now, I've already confessed I've not been able to hear Daniel's or Bob's yet, but you guys, like I said, I was with my sister all day today, so I wasn't able to participate or listen to those. But I tell you, it was really a wonderful feeling that I was out driving my little sister around, driving around through the mountains, and you know, having the same conversation 15 times and answering the same question 10 times, and just listening to the same comment, you know, time after time. But at the same time, knowing that while we're out driving around, that I had two buddies on sharing this powerful gospel with the world. I can't tell you what that was like. I mean, here I am in a car with an Alzheimer's patient who happens to be my sweet little sister. And yet while I'm driving the car and we're going through the redundancy that Alzheimer's puts people into and their caregivers into, and here I am free to take care of my sister while two of my buddies are standing in there and out sharing the gospel. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. My God, I don't know how these worlds, these cosmoses come together. I don't know if there's a plural for cosmoses, but these are different worlds.
There is, it's cosmetics.
Cosmetics. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So from one cosmetic to another cosmetic, Don and I found a place where we found the word cosmos in a Greek dictionary, and it went through all of. I've failed to go there, and I've failed to do it again tonight. But if you guys will just Google definition of cosmos, there will pull up there's one of them. It comes up right at the top, I think. It tells you what all cosmos can mean. It can mean a nation. It can mean a city. It really shows you that the term cosmos is applicable to the context that it is spoken of. And when I called Don and I told him about the cosmos of the woman that Peter was talking about, where he said, let not her adornment be of the wearing of the clothes and the plaiting of hair. I said, guess what the word adornment is in Greek? And I wish you could have seen his face. If it had his teeth in, they would have fallen out. And I told him it was cosmos. I said, this woman had a cosmos. And it's like, so. And so I think from that point, when we realized that if a cosmos can be the way a woman is dressed, a cosmos can be anything. So then I was desperate to find out, what cosmos did Jesus come into? Because it's obvious he didn't come in to save the orderly arrangement of the sun and the moon and the stars. So if he came to save a cosmos, then we had to know what cosmos he came to save. Because number one, he was successful at saving the cosmos. And it wasn't just a fallen image that man had of himself from the beginning. This was a total rearrangement of the first creation and the last creation, from the first Adam to the last Adam, a completely new creation, as Don has always emphasizes, and which I'm sure he was about to jump in and say a whole new creature, because that's what he always does when we get here to this point. It's a creature that never existed before. And what we are in this world now is a creature that never existed before 2,000 years ago. This God man. And you guys have been like to been flies on the walls as we inched up to actually verbalizing God in the earth. I think Don did it first. And it's like, it's like, oh my gosh, where are we going? Now I was already convinced of it, but to say it then, because I'm always, I try to be sensitive to where people are. And it's times it's silly of me to do that, to try to second guess you guys are. Because the truth is the truth. It doesn't make any difference who it is. But I do feel protective of the people who listen to us. I am a papa at heart. I'm just a daddy. That's all there is to it. And I do stop and consider how this is going to affect you guys. And
that's why Daniel bleeps out some words on the podcast.
Exactly. Because we want to protect you from Don. But But it is, this has been a privilege, and to hear back from you guys at the end of this conference is just so powerful for all of us. I know that Bob is very encouraged to hear what you guys got out of what he was saying. And I know that you guys have already mentioned what about Nardos, and I did get to hear Nardos in his session, and he really did nail what the reaction was to the cross, what the consequence of the cross was. It was just so very succinct, and he is very succinct. Now, I get started, and you don't know when you're going to have a side trail somewhere along the way. There are no side trails with Nardos. You get to the point, you stick with the point, you go to the point, it's done. And that's not me. You guys have followed me down rabbit trails, and it's like, where the hell's he going now?
And that's the beauty of, before I go any further, let me just bring on my real persona. And that's the beauty of what is happening here right now tonight.
Yeah.
The synergy of what is happening here means nobody, and I felt the same as you did, Jeannie, about Daniel's presentation. I felt the same as Robert said about Mike's presentation, but no one's jealous of each other. We aren't competing. We're complementing. And, I never had that in Christianity. It was, we said we did. Oh, yes, the parts are all fitting together. But it was always who can give the best message, who can make the best point, who can bring out the best revelation.
Who can pull the biggest crowds.
Best most money.
Yeah, who raised the best money.
That's it.
I was good at that. They used to, Norval Hayes always wanted me to do the offering. And because I could pull Bible verses together that nobody else could do.
You could have been the billionaire.
Can you imagine?
Can
you imagine how much money
he wants him to be a billionaire, first Christian billionaire preacher. So
can you imagine how much money we could make now?
We've repented from all this mess, right?
Oh, glory.
I tell you what, we would be the #1 topic around the world in Christian circles. There's a person in here that would not become an internationally known speaker around the world if we all we have to do, guys, if you all want to be wealthy, all we have to do is just say that, wow, boy, were we ever deceived. And,
oh, boy.
Did we follow down a wrong path? And boy, you will be booked from here to, quote, kingdom come. That's for sure.
And speaking of wrong path, that idea of seeing through a lens, you can adjust lenses. Everybody's wearing glasses.
Yeah.
And if your lens isn't truth, then your story is garbage.
Yeah.
The only lens that you can look through is truth. Even talking about the lens of love. What is love? Like who sanded that lens to make love that way? It's got to be the scriptures. It's got to be the truth. And if you're going to be using the Bible, it seems like there's almost a lens that you have to look through is the scriptures and the truth of the scriptures. Otherwise, you're just fooling around.
Yeah, any other lens other than the scriptures themselves, Jeannie, I agree with you that we all look through a lens. No doubt.
Yeah.
But the only lens that we are told by Jesus to look through is the scriptures. The one who is love said, look at scriptures. I think the thing that amazes me about all of this is the one-dimensional God that this persuasion that is taught through the Mirror Bible. There's just such a one-dimensional view of the Creator. I mean, it's amazing to me how one-dimensional it is. And I'm all in love with love too. But you can't say, first off, you have to look at who said God is love. There's only one verse in the entire Bible that says God is love. There's plenty that say God is many other things other than love. Well,
if you take one verse and make a whole doctrine out of it, remember that God will protect us under his wings like a chicken does. What is he, a cosmic chicken? We hide under his wings.
Yeah.
I can make a whole we could get
boy,
rich.
couldn't you though?
Yeah, we could get rich off of that, mate. We'll have bishop chickens and we'll have pope chickens.
The chicken gospel.
You can be the chicken pope.
Don, we talked about asking the 5 questions.
Yeah.
So out of the 3, so we have from Daniel and Dawn.
I got to sign out. So great meeting all of you.
Oh, nice to see you again, Vic.
We'll see you again soon.
See you again.
God bless you all.
God bless you.
Adios.
So the message that came with Daniel was talking about any law that you have. Is it tithing? Is it love? Oh, now preacher, love. How could it be? And then I thought, as soon as he said that, I thought, yeah, when Mike said, love, you love your furniture more than you do your neighbor. And I thought, how the two just fit together. I don't even know if they heard each other speak it. And then Dawn, who totally offended me.
Good.
Asked a question.
I live for that.
Asked a question. He says, do you believe, or do you think that everything that you believe is true? And I said, yes. And then he asked another question. Then he said, if any honest person would have said no.
Oh dear. Have we lost a donor?
And I thought, but I only believe one thing. And it is true.
Yeah.
So I only believe in the faith of the Son of God, and it is finished.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yes, I believe everything I believe is true. Any knowledge and anything outside of that, could be wrong or it could be right, doesn't either way.
Yeah.
But since I only believe one thing, so yes, I believe everything I believe is true.
Adrian, just can you stop it? Stop it right now. Just stop it. Stop being logical. Stop going to the bottom line. Just stop it, girl.
But you were now, if you were, of course, I know you were talking to people who are under Christianity still, because there's hordes of things you have to believe.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just when you said that, and I said yes right away, talking to myself, and then after that you said any honest person would have said no to both of those.
Did you
but
say
then I'm thinking,
on
because
Facebook?
Daniel was saying it, and I did say this to one. I said, no, you have to love because God first loved you. And I stole Mike's thing from them, and I said, the more you try to love somebody, the more you will hate and resent them.
Oh boy.
And I said to him, you love your furniture more than you do your neighbor. I stole it from Mike. And he looked at me and they said, well, no, that's not true. And I said, why haven't you sold it? Because your neighbor down there doesn't have any food.
Oh, wow.
But you're not going to sell your furniture.
Just pray for them.
Yeah. Just pray for them. Yeah. And pray someone else sells their furniture for them. So all three of the messages, even though they were taught in different forms, all said the same thing.
Awesome.
So are you teaching for us next year, next conference? This is what I want to know, Adrian.
Oh, I'm pretty blunt though.
Boy, we have to reject a teacher because they're too blunt, having Don on staff. You are more than
So
blunt.
that is true. That is true.
I have another comment here that came in on Facebook. I'd just like to share it. It's from, I think you say the name Muse, Roy.
Roy Muse, yes.
And said, what stood out to me by watching this conference is how it made clear as to what was meant by "it is finished," because that is one of the things that stood out to me many years ago, which made me begin to look at this redemption that included everyone. Thanks, Mike, for the clarity. We have lots of fond memories from when you spent time with us here in Nova Scotia a few years ago.
Yeah, that was a trip that included Richard John Mull. He flew up with me, and boy, did we go into a hornet's nest. I mean, the preachers in this, goodness, what is the name of the little town? Roy, if you could, see, I've been watching the show The Last Tango in Halifax, and that's the only one I can think of. I love that little Netflix show. Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. And, beautiful little.
I loved it. You sound just like Jeannie when you talk like that. I love
Yarmouth,
that.
Nova
Canadian
Scotia.
accent is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, and oh my gosh, pastors were getting up in churches, warning people, rebuking people for coming, threatening. It was unbelievable, the reaction that this little town and probably all of Nova Scotia had as the word spread as to what these guys had done to this city by bringing me into this town, this heretic. And but we still have folks that really love the gospel, Roy being one of them. We have others there in town also, but it was not this tore at the fabric of Christianity for the eastern part of Canada. And but it was a lot of fun. Those folks were gracious and kind to Richard and I. And I do know that one of the thoughts on Richard's mind as he was on his deathbed when I went out to visit him out in California was the joy he had of visiting there in Nova Scotia. Goodness, it was a sweet time. That's for sure. So thanks, Roy, for being on. I know that Roy and his wife, gosh, they're such gospel revolutionaries. They're just such wonderful people. And they just love the gospel. And these are all people who were very well settled into Christianity. And boy, they just heard a single thing on a tape, or depending on when they were listening, or it might have been a CD if it was more recent enough. But man, it just began to spread. It's amazing that where we have access to the ears, we change minds. The issue is having access to the ears. Just like this group that's on here from the Edmonton area, it's because I had access there for a while. And I was speaking in places where they came, and here they are, 26, 27 years later, still hanging in there strong with the gospel.
So let me take this opportunity to parlay that, as they say in card games. Daniel, how much does it take us to reach 1,000 new ears?
We can do that with just a matter of $2 to $3.
For all of you who are listening on Facebook, for all of you who see this in the future, for just a couple of bucks. I'm saying this because Mike won't. He's, I want to use a word and I can't because of that's it. Yep. Look, if you have gotten any value from this gospel, consider that it takes just $2 to reach 1,000 ears. Just think about that. That's all I'm saying. And you can go to www.gospelrevolution.com, click the donate link, and Bob's your uncle.
Boy, Michael, this conference has just been really good. I think the spirit's been moving. I think I don't know. I feel like a revival's broken out.
Every time I feel the spirit.
When a revival breaks out, that means the meeting will be extended.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Magnificently.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., I will be speaking on here once again. And I've got more to say. I'm telling you, I can't quit where we stopped. And maybe by the time that I get through with mine, if Daniel or Bob or anybody said, wow, I've got more to say, we just might keep going at this hour every evening. But right now, I do plan on to be on tomorrow evening I think it'd be wise if I set it at 6:30 and instead of 7, at least for my schedule.
So 6:30 Eastern will be back here on Zoom. You can use the same link tomorrow night, and I'll be sure to share that over Facebook, and we'll get that in the email tomorrow to you as well.
Is 6:30 okay for you, Daniel? Because Daniel has to host it for us to be able to do it.
Yep, that'll be just fine.
Awesome, wonderful. All right, guys.
Will that be recorded on YouTube?
Yeah. So it'll go out on Facebook as well, and it'll be available afterward, and we'll get it up on YouTube too.
Yeah, I have to work. So I work afternoon, so I won't be here tomorrow, but I will check in afterwards. So
awesome. And that's the wonderful thing about this is it's all recorded and it looks as live replayed as it does live. So
well, it's certainly a conference worthwhile listening to a second time. Absolutely. Every little bit of it.
Yeah, and I'm the only one here that probably hasn't heard it all. So
oh, you're missing out.
I am. I'm not under the spout where the glory's coming out.
Oh.
You're repetitive, the CPR of the gospel. Because you can go back, I go back to your teachings years ago. You've got them on YouTube there. And you still learn something new. Not so much learn it, but kicks you in the butt and reminds you. And then it puts everything into perspective. So it's not something that you can just watch once, just over and over and over again. It's just amazing.
I found that to be the truth for myself.
Messages on cassette.
Yeah, you guys have cassettes. That's right.
Yeah.
Trying to give us our age out, eh?
I'd like to just say that another thing that was really watered down for us, and when you were talking on Friday, I turned to my husband, I said, well, I wonder how he would define sin. And Daniel did I've never heard such a sin. And then the other thing we were struggling with is we didn't think God was an angry God. And God doesn't like sacrifice. But we weren't doing it in the right context. And so I just want to thank you all. It was just, and when Don asked those 5 questions, it hits you right. If you're a truth seeker, you're always growing and changing.
Exactly.
It was a great conference. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us and making it such a great conference. Your participation is beautiful. And we just, goodness, and again, thank you guys there in Broken Arrow you've answered my heart's cry as to why we're actually focusing on this right now. It really hit home. I'd like for us to be able to get together with you and let's get a interview or something done. We need to get maybe the guys on and do an interview about their experience.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, and because I think it's important for people to hear. We're not out to put anybody down, but we are here to lift up the truth. And so I think it's important that people know your experience because we're looking for a whole lot more people to have the same experience that you guys have had there.
And if any of you would like to, if you'd like us to interview you with a view to making others aware of how valuable this gospel is to you, please call Daniel on
920-915-1334.
What's the first numbers?
920-915-1334.
And that's the Black Stocks. You'll be getting a phone call from Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could do that, just let Daniel know, and we will make it happen. Daniel and I will make it happen. I don't care how we're going to do it. We're going to get you the facilities to make this possible. If you need a microphone, if you need a, but I mean, you're all here today, so I guess you don't need any hardware. But we want to let other people know that what you experienced in the gospel could also benefit them.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love that. So I can see a square where your two heads are, but I can't see anything more than that. So Daniel, could you, I don't know, can you take care of this, please?
Yes, we'll make it happen.
Don, you can see with your heart.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
And I promise, Daniel, at some point I will get the damn control of the blasted website to you as well. I missed most of the conference. Mike and I were kicking some interesting stuff around this morning for a little while.
Oh gosh, were we ever?
I'll go back and listen to it.
Who is speaking?
It's Attila the Hen from Edmonton, Alberta. And Mike, why did you,
Mr. Kazar, is that you?
Why did you allow the ZZ Top guitarist with the Australian accent on, for God's sakes? You know, I'm waiting for the sixth string to get out and
because
after
you, I'm his best choice, mate. That's why.
Well, that's an interesting concept. Anyway, let's get to. I recognize a few faces, which is nice. It's nice to put a face to a name as well. The bald-headed heretic I've known for 1 or 2 years. So, anyway, Broken Arrow is Broken Arrow a suburb of Tulsa?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Southeast.
Yeah, we were. I seem to remember I was in that part of the world. What, about 24 years ago or something? What did we see? What was the name of the movie we saw? Was it did we see Men in Black first, or was it Tu Wong Fu?
Fallen from Grace, I think.
That was Tu Wong Fu, and that's where brought the whole house down. I got to tell the story now that you brought it up.
Sure, why not?
So Tu Wong Fu, I don't know how many of you seen it. It's one of the most wonderful campy movies about drag queens. And the funny thing is that it is, who's the stars in the show? Leslie, you'll remember, he's got a brain.
John Leguizamo, a few other really good actors as well. Some of whom you would never you would never in 10 lifetimes see in drag, and there was a few other guys as well.
Patrick
Swayze was the
Patrick
other one.
Swayze was a drag queen. And so
was very
anyway,
interesting.
it's this beautiful movie about acceptance, and it's got a very powerful, and it's very funny all the way through. So right in the middle of the movie, Leslie and I were sitting in the middle of the theater, and everybody is a pretty full theater. And so the guy that Leslie just mentioned, who's of Spanish descent, and so he's in his full dress and everything, and being a girl, and he is in this discussion and that he wants to get out of, or she wants to get out of, and says, "I have to go." Says, "I've got the cramps." And Leslie goes, "Aha! From what?" And the whole theater just went on pause. Nobody knows what happened in the movie for the next several minutes. I was laughing so hard. And so, yeah, Leslie stole the show completely.
It was anatomically incorrect. What can I say?
Yeah, and when you're doing a doctor that way, you just can't do that.
Yeah, I know. I should have kept my mouth shut, but I think that probably gave everybody more comedic relief for the whole day rather than not. So anyway, I think, just to reflect, as I say, I have not heard anything, but, I think for myself, the most important thing about the gospel of peace is this: there's no war. You can go back and fight about when you think the war started, but there's no war. And what it does is it frees you, it gives you peace. And, one of the brief things that Mike and I were talking about today was we were talking about something called the authority problem. Well, the interesting thing is, all of us are used to being under authorities, whether they're civil authorities, whether it's religious authorities, whether it's legal authorities. And the reality is that God, the Creator, is one with you. There is no authority. There is no authority whatsoever. If there's complete peace and you're one, there's no authority. And we as human beings, we either want to have authority or we need to be under authority. And the interesting thing is, there's no authority. You don't get to be an authority, and nobody gets to be an authority over you. I mean, you can decide to let people be an authority, but you can also make the same decision to walk away from it. And, if you think about how Jesus lived his life, not only in what he taught, but how he dealt with people, he never used his authority over people. He was kind, respectful, and compassionate. There was no sense of having any authority. He was even kind to the Pharisees and the money changers when he threw them out of the temple. Sometimes kindness looks like size 9 therapy. And if you don't know what size 9 therapy is, I'll explain it to you, but another time and not in public. But I think the thing is that there's no war. We're not under anything. You can choose to go your own way, or you can choose not to. It's easier if you don't, but that's okay. That's no big deal. And the gospel of peace means there's no war. We spend all our time, we're against this, we're against that, we're against everything else. And if you listen to what's going on in various parts of the world, particularly as they're having elections, and there's elections all over the place right now, but it's we're against this and we're against that and we're against everything else. And my only comment is, we can disagree, but we can still agree to disagree, and we can be kind and respectful to each other. The other issue is that if God's not mad at you, really, how can you be mad at anybody else?
Mm.
And that's all I have to say. I'm keeping my mouth shut. I got myself into enough trouble.
I was just thinking when you're talking about that, just like relationships I have in my own life, because I came from in the word of faith, and those of you who've been there, you've experienced this to some degree, but for me, it was my life. Is I had this order of authority over my life. You know, I had a pastor, I had a prophet, I had teachers and leaders in my life that I submitted myself to, and was just reminiscing a little bit about that last night and thinking that submitting to that authority and the judgment that I opened myself up to that. And I'm just thinking about that's like the navigation that I'm learning now, even learning to be free, is knowing that God doesn't judge me. And also I'm not under that judgment from a pastor, from a prophet, from anybody else like that, that I am totally, completely free. And that really, not only does it help the relationship between me and God and understanding our oneness, but also putting into perspective even human relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, the conversation that Leslie and I had this morning was definitely a continuation and progression, really, of this conference, and the fact that, you know, being one with God literally means there is no authority over you, and that in and of itself is as descriptive of the gospel. So if there is no authority over you, then there can't be any such thing as sin, because you know, that whole the whole issue of sin can only exist where there's an authority over you to determine sin or guilt or judgment or conviction. There has to be an authority over you. And so we even talked about it in what a misconception we have about our form of government. It's supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that when we do elections, we're not electing people to be an authority over us. We're electing people to serve us. But I think they all have forgotten that. And they think that when we elect them, that they're going into positions of authority. Well, they're not. They're going into positions of service. I've not seen any party get this right in America, that elections are things we go through to elect those who will serve, not those who will rule. And I was even thinking about the issue of the police. You know, do you know that a citizen here in the U.S. has the very same authority to arrest somebody that a police officer does? You know, I remember Gomer Pyle running through the streets yelling, "Citizens arrest! Citizens arrest!" And from one of the old shows of Andy Griffith shows, but we as citizens have lost our consciousness of why we are electing people, and the people, even if it is to serve, it seems like no matter who gets into the office, the sense of authority begins to take them over. But in this form of government, there is no authority. It is a service that they are elected into. So we're trying to wake people up to this sense of the gospel in that very same nature as Leslie was sharing with you, that it's a powerful thing once you realize that you are equal with the authority. You don't have to turn around and ask the authority what their will is. You don't have to try to obey the authority. You don't, you know, that's not what it's all about. So there's a whole lot of things that all of the principles of the gospel fit into place if you just simply know there's no authority above you. There's no one to be there in a position higher than you, as Jesus prayed, you know, that and explained how that we are one. He was one with the Father, so he made sure we understood what being one was. And he says, like me and the Father. And he said, what the Father does, I do, and he can do it so that I can do it. And then he prayed, Father, I pray that they may be one with us, even as we are one, I and them and they and us. And as I said the other day, it kind of sounds like Jesus had gospel Tourette's or something. because he said it in about 5 different ways, all in 2 or 3 sentences, about the issue of being in and about the issue of being one in every way that it could possibly be mentioned. So in that concept of authority, which you've got to understand that there is no denomination, even the guys that are teaching this, the doctrine, they do not understand that there is no authority. And there's still this, you've got to try to find this ultimate place. You're still looking for something that's missing. And thank God we're not looking for something that's missing. We're just looking for what's already there that the cross accomplished. Leslie, thanks for sharing that with us. Anybody else have something they want to share before we go tonight?
I have one more thing.
Yes, sir.
When Daniel was speaking about before the cross and after the cross with regard to hamartia, an archery term having to do with sin. So a few years ago, I had an experience that it validates what Daniel was saying. And here's what God showed me. I had an open vision where I was standing before a big barn, and God says, "You see that barn over there, Rich?" I said, "Yes." He says, "See that gun in your hand?" "Yes." "Shoot some holes in that barn." So I went boom, 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 boom. And then he says, "Now you see that can of paint over there in the ladder in the brush?" He says, "Go over and paint a bullseye around every one of those holes." And that's where we all are today. This is after the cross. Yeah. We can't miss.
That's beautiful.
I love it.
Can't miss. Yeah. We will remember that one. Anybody else? All right, guys. Thank you so much for participating. Like I said, we are extending the conference. I'll be speaking tomorrow night, and we'll be going into some really pointed understanding about the law of Moses. We brought out that in the New Testament, a verse that's leaned on pretty heavily, where it says the law was given by Moses, and the word by there is the Greek word dia, and it means through. It means a conduit through which something happens. And so that's one of the verses where that the teachers that we're speaking of go to say that the law didn't come from God, it came from Moses. But even that one out of context verse, the word by means through. It is not that it came from Moses or was Moses's law. It actually means Moses had nothing to do with the law. He was simply the conduit through which it came. So we're going to touch on some things in the Old Testament. I'm going to be sharing with you what the Old Testament prophets thought about God's law. And we're going to go into Daniel, and you're going to see, oh man, see, I'm wanting to start teaching this right now. We're going to go into Daniel, and you're going to see how closely tied the reality of the law being from God is to Daniel's revelation that the work was completed. It's all there in one chapter, and I'm not going to tell you the chapter. I don't want you going ahead and looking, spoiling my thunder. So we're going to come back tomorrow. I don't know how long it'll last, but I'll be starting here at 6:30. And like I said, we're going to be recording it. So even if you can't be in here, we will have it available for you.
So I'll be sure to share that link again tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll share the link here to Zoom. And we'll go, for those of you who can't join us on Zoom, I know there's some watching on Facebook. It'll be just like that. And for those who can't make that time, it will be recorded. We'll be sure to share that as well.
Now, before we go, we always have to prod James to say something in the conferences. So I can't pass up a chance to prod him to say something about his experience so far.
I'm on overload.
You're on overload.
Yeah.
So what overloaded you? What got to you? Sounds like something got to you.
Well, you know what happens to me all the time is I listen to this and then like I do a lot of driving, so I listen and I listen and listen. And so I really don't comment until I get past the point over.
Until you get a few miles under your belt, huh? There you go. Well, we'll let you off with that.
It's
James, if ever I was coming up to Calgary again and you were there, I would put you and Viney back to back. And I would say, and that's the long and the short of it. That's all.
Yes.
We miss you, James.
Yeah, we sure do. We miss all of you guys. But it's been wonderful to be able to gather even in this medium. I can see how that through this very strange time that we're living, that this is very good. I mean, can you imagine going through this without this for families and everything? And James is probably enjoying his granddaughter through this medium, and just being able to get on FaceTime and saying hi. Goodness, so it's a good thing. It's really quite amazing.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to Daniel Rouse. For those people who are listening on Facebook who have listened so far, and some of you have left us, but I'm sure you'll see this anyway. Without Daniel, we would not have had anything near the technical
It wouldn't have been done.
yeah, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been done. Daniel, thank you, my friend.
Yes, thank you, Daniel.
My pleasure.
And when Daniel says it's my pleasure, believe me, he means it. He's had a real pleasure in doing this. So we're going to charge him for it.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
All right, guys, we love you. Thank you so much for participating in this conference. Like I said, we're going to get one teaching in tomorrow. It might be only 30 minutes. It might be an hour and a half. I don't have it.
Oh, it'll be 2 hours. You know it will be. Michael Williams, get out of here.
The over-under is 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I'm taking the over.
There you go.
Yeah.
We never complain.
All right, guys, we love you.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel.
Bye.
Welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice to see everybody's faces again.
Love yous all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
That was pretty good, guys.
We still hear you there, Don. I don't know how to sign off.
I think Daniel's supposed to do that for